I never thought my life could unravel in a single moment, not like this. I had always believed our marriage was stable, built on trust and years of shared memories. But that illusion shattered the evening I stumbled upon the hidden camera footage. It began as a typical Thursday. My husband, Mark, and I had finished dinner, and he suggested we watch a movie. I was scrolling through my phone when a notification popped up from an unfamiliar email account. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it. My breath caught as I saw the message. "You need to see this." Attached was a video file. I hesitated, heart racing, and clicked it. The screen flickered to life, and I saw our bedroom, our sanctuary, captured from a hidden angle. And there she was, my husband, my Mark, not alone but with someone else. Someone I had never expected, someone who had seemed harmless, even friendly. I couldn't tear my eyes away. Every movement, every whispered word, every touch was undeniable proof of betrayal. I felt sick. My hands trembled as I rewound the footage, hoping against hope that I had misunderstood. But the images were crystal clear. The laughter, the kisses, the intimacy, it all screamed infidelity. And it had been happening behind my back for months. I wanted to scream, to confront him immediately, but something kept me frozen. I needed to process the depth of the betrayal, to understand how my life had turned into this nightmare without my noticing a single warning sign. As I sat there, emotions crashing over me like waves, memories of our life together replayed in my mind. The mornings he kissed me gently before leaving for work. The weekends we spent traveling, laughing, holding hands. All of it now felt like a carefully constructed illusion, a mask he wore to hide his secret life. The next day, I pretended as if nothing had happened. Mark went to work, and I stayed home, replaying the footage over and over in my mind. My anger was mingled with disbelief, my heartbreak entwined with a deep, burning rage. How could he do this? How could he betray everything we had built together? I decided I couldn't confront him without being prepared. I needed proof, undeniable proof that I could show him face to face, a way to strip away his excuses and lies. I meticulously cataloged the videos, taking screenshots, noting timestamps. Each piece of evidence was a dagger to my heart, yet also a shield, a weapon to confront the man I once trusted. Days passed. Mark didn't notice my strange behavior, his nonchalance only fueling my inner turmoil. And then one evening, he came home earlier than usual. I was in the living room, pretending to read, though my mind was far from the pages. "Hey," he said, his voice casual. "Everything okay?" "Fine," I replied, my tone deceptively calm. My heart pounded, my hands were cold, but I forced a smile. "Just reading." He nodded and went to the kitchen, leaving me alone with my thoughts. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining the confrontation. Would I yell? Cry? Storm out? Or would I do something far more calculated, something that would ensure he could never lie his way out of this? The next morning, I decided it was time. I prepared a small folder on the laptop containing all the evidence. Every video, every screenshot, every timestamp. I wasn't going to act in blind anger. I wanted him to understand the weight of his betrayal fully. When he came home that evening, I was waiting. My heart thudded loudly, but my face was a mask of composure. "Mark," I said, voice steady. "We need to talk." He looked at me, puzzled.
About what?
I took a deep breath and opened the folder, sliding the laptop across the table. "Watch." For a moment, he froze, staring at the screen. Then slowly, recognition dawned. His face paled, his eyes wide with shock, then guilt. I can explain," he stammered. "Explain?" I echoed, voice rising slightly. "Explain how you've been betraying me for months, right under my nose?" Tears welled in my eyes, but I didn't let them fall. I needed him to see the depth of what he had done. "I trusted you, Mark. I believed in us. And you chose someone else." He tried to reach for my hand, but I pulled back. "Don't. Not yet. Not until I know why." He swallowed hard. I don't know. I made a mistake. It didn't mean anything. I laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. Didn't mean anything? You've destroyed everything we had, everything I thought we shared. And you call it nothing? Hours passed in silence, the tension between us unbearable. I didn't know if I wanted to forgive him, if forgiveness was even possible. But I knew one thing. I couldn't let this pass without confronting it fully, without understanding why the man I loved had betrayed me so deeply. And as the night wore on, I realized that this betrayal was a turning point. Either it would destroy us entirely, or it would reveal truths about our relationship that we had both ignored for far too long. Mark's face remained pale, his eyes darting nervously around the room as I watched him process the footage. He opened his mouth, then closed it, as if the right words had abandoned him. I could see the guilt etched into every line of his face, and part of me, a part one hated admitting, felt satisfaction in his discomfort. I don't know where to start, he murmured, finally. It wasn't supposed to go this far. I thought it was harmless at first. Harmless. My voice trembled with disbelief. You think betraying me, lying, sneaking around behind my back, that's harmless? He flinched, and I saw the shame in his eyes. I made a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you. I just got caught up. I don't know what I was thinking. I shook my head, feeling my anger rise. You weren't thinking. That's the problem. You didn't think about us. You didn't think about what we had built together. All of it gone. And you call it a mistake? Tears welled up, and I had to fight to keep my composure. I couldn't let him see me break. Not yet. Not until I had said everything I needed to say. I trusted you, I whispered. I believed in us. And you turned our life into a lie. He stepped closer, and I instinctively took a step back. Please, just listen. I love you. It didn't mean what you think it did. Love. I laughed bitterly. You call this love? Sneaking around? Lying to me? How could I ever believe that again? Mark's shoulders slumped, his head hanging low. I know I've messed up. I can't take back what I've done, but I swear I never meant to hurt you. I studied him, searching for any sign of sincerity. Part of me wanted to believe him, to cling to the remnants of the man I once knew. But the betrayal ran deep, deeper than I thought possible. You need to leave, I said finally, my voice firm. I need time to think. I can't look at you right now without remembering what you did. He nodded silently and left, closing the door softly behind him. The house felt emptier than ever, a hollow shell of memories tainted by deception. The days that followed were a blur of emotions, anger, sadness, confusion, and an aching longing that I couldn't explain. I replayed the footage in my mind constantly, analyzing every detail, trying to understand why. Why he had done it, why he had risked everything, and why I had never seen it coming. Then came the unexpected. A message from her. The woman in the footage. I hadn't anticipated this. My first instinct was to delete it, to ignore it, but something compelled me to read it. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know he was married. I'm so sorry. I stared at the screen, my mind spinning. She sounded sincere, but how could anyone be sincere after this? How could she possibly justify what they had done? I decided to confront her, not for revenge, but for clarity. I needed answers. So I arranged a meeting at a quiet cafe, far from prying eyes. When she arrived, I studied her carefully. She seemed nervous, almost fragile, and yet there was a confidence in her posture that made my blood boil. I just want to understand, I said as we sat down. Why him? Why my husband? She sighed, wringing her hands. I didn't plan this. I never wanted to hurt anyone. I didn't know about you at first. And when I did, I stopped. I wanted to stop, but he kept pushing. He made me feel wanted, alive. I shook my head, anger simmering beneath the surface. So it's my fault he chose to betray me, because you made him feel alive? Her eyes welled up. No, it's not your fault. It's his. I didn't seduce him intentionally. I swear. I wanted to believe her, to find some solace in her words, But it wasn't enough. The damage had been done, and nothing could erase it. Returning home, I felt a mix of relief and devastation. I realized that the next steps were mine to decide. I could forgive Mark, try to rebuild what was broken, or I could walk away, leaving the life I had known behind. I chose to confront him again. This time, it wasn't about accusations or evidence, it was about truth. I needed him to see the consequences of his actions, to feel the weight of his choices. "Mark," I said, standing in the living room, "we need to decide what happens next. I can't keep living like this. I need honesty, complete honesty, before I even consider whether we have a future." He nodded, tears brimming in his eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes. I'll prove myself. I'll go to counseling, do whatever you need. I'll change." We spent hours talking, raw and unfiltered, confronting every lie, every secret, every hidden desire. It was exhausting, painful, and yet there was a strange sense of release. The betrayal had been exposed, laid bare, and for the first time, we were forced to confront reality, not illusions. The days turned into weeks. We attended counseling, talked late into the night, and slowly, cautiously, began to rebuild trust. It wasn't easy. Trust once broken leaves scars, but with time, honesty, and effort, we found glimpses of the connection we had lost. One evening, months later, as we sat together on the couch, I realized something profound. Betrayal had changed us, but it hadn't destroyed us entirely. We had been tested, pushed to the edge, and yet here we were, still together, still willing to fight for love. I looked at Mark, and though the memory of his betrayal still stung, I felt something stronger. Hope. Hope that love, even when scarred by deceit, could endure. That sometimes the deepest wounds could lead to the strongest bonds. And as I rested my head on his shoulder, I understood that betrayal wasn't the end. It was a beginning, a painful, heartbreaking, but ultimately enlightening beginning. Months passed, and life began to settle into a fragile new normal. The betrayal had left deep scars, but it had also forced us to confront truths we had long ignored. Mark and I weren't the same people we had been before the hidden camera footage surfaced. We were raw, more honest, and painfully aware of the fragile nature of trust. One quiet evening, as the sun dipped behind the horizon, we sat together on the porch, the air thick with unspoken words. Mark reached for my hand, his grip tentative but sincere. "I know I don't deserve it," he said softly, "but I'm committed to rebuilding what I broke. Every day, I'll prove it to you." I looked at him, feeling the weight of the past, the ache of betrayal, and the fragile hope of healing. "It won't be easy," I replied. "We'll never forget what happened. But I'm willing to try if you are." He nodded, relief washing over his face. For the first time in months, there was no tension, no anger, only a cautious sense of possibility. We had survived the storm of lies and infidelity, not unscathed, but together. Betrayal had threatened to destroy us, but it had also forced us to face the cracks in our relationship and rebuild on a foundation of truth, however fragile it seemed. And as we watched the sunset in silence, I realized that love, though tested and wounded, could endure. Sometimes, it wasn't the perfect marriages or untouched hearts that mattered. It was the willingness to confront pain, forgive cautiously, and rebuild slowly. The hidden camera had revealed the worst of us, but it also gave us a choice: to let betrayal define the rest of our lives or to rise above it. We chose the latter. And for the first time in a long time, I allowed myself to hope that the future, though uncertain, could still hold love, trust, and healing. The story had ended, not with the devastation I had feared, but with the fragile, determined promise of a new beginning.